The dumbest one I ever bought, and at the time it made sense to me, but I bought a car.
Oh my gosh, I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Should I use that to get?
I brought this guy with me who I thought would talk me out of buying the car. He didn't talk me out of it. He's sitting next to you.
We got the mans from Earn Your Leisure in studio, Rashad and Troy. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, Man's Dumb is here.
All the way from the States. How was the flight?
Flight was good, man. It's quick.
An hour from New York.
Yeah. Listen, I love what you guys have built and what you're doing in terms of really spreading that wealth mindset, because especially for, young people, people of color, black people. Why did you guys start this in the first place?
It was a need basis. It started in the classroom with young adults, and realizing that there wasn't anybody that was teaching these type of topics, and knowing how vital they were to the future. We had an opportunity to teach financial literacy to some kids in the summer, and that kind of expanded into something that we never really could have even envisioned. Social media obviously played a big part in that, and Shadi had the vision to say this is a great thing, but how do we expand it? How do we create something that is scalable? And I was just trying to figure out how to move the program from city to city. And he had a global vision for it. And so people gravitated toward it because nobody had, broken things down and spoken in the language that we speak in. And so, that's how it was birthed.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people make?
Now
you smiling.
It's a lot.
I make too many mistakes.
Yeah, I think, not living below your means, I think is very, very important. And no matter what your means are, right? It's like you could be making $1 million a year and be spending 1.2 million and be in debt, or you could be making 50,000 and spending 50,000 a year in trouble. So having that financial discipline to stay below your means, I think is difficult. And I think that's probably the hardest thing that most people struggle with.
Yeah, well, it's hard because we live in this consumption society. I mean, your favorite artist is always flossing. You go open up any social platform, everybody's flossing. Everybody's showing off something. How do you try to change somebody's mindset who is just trying to keep up?
Retraining your mindset is extremely important, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why we have assets over liabilities. Putting these type of slogans out there, right, in the universe and making it cool for delayed gratification, making it cool to put money into investments as opposed to just buying a Chanel bag or a pair of sneakers, making it cool to actually talk about entrepreneurship and business. These are things that we have to force into the common theme of society. It's difficult because, like you said, we're trained to be consumers since birth. I said this all the time, we were trained to spend money. Even if you have a 5-year-old, you send them to the store and they get back change, that's actually training a child how to spend money. But we were never trained on how to invest money. So now we have to rethink the way that we were brought up and put the investing, the saving, the delayed gratification in the forefront.
Even from the things that we spend money on, there's a lesson to be taught, right? So whether it's watches, where we see our celebrities and our athletes have, there's a lesson, right? It could be an investment, or even gold, right? So if people have gold, when we talk to them, we talk about, that's a commodity. You can trade that, right? I mean, and so there's always going to be a lesson, even down to sneakers, fashion, LVMH, you can invest in this company. Sneakers can be something that you can turn into a business. Even the luxury cars, it's all right, this is cool to have, but you can create a business around Turo where you can rent this and lease this out to people. And so taking the things that we know money's being spent on and creating a lesson around it, I think helps that as well.
So how do you guys break that cycle?
I think we break it through education and showing that, people only buy into delayed gratification if they think that there's a reward for it. So even if you look at religion, people buy into religion because they fully believe in heaven.
Right, because they want to be in heaven, not hell.
Yeah. If they didn't believe in heaven, then it's harder to pitch somebody on the idea of be a great person on earth and you may never seek the rewards for it.
Right, because might as well you just be a bad person and treat people the way you want to treat any time.
So now if we could show somebody in real time, and this is in theory, this is actually real, if you do this, this is what you can accomplish. We showed the pathway. This is Robert Smith. This is his pathway to become the richest black person in American history. This is Don Peoples' pathway to become a real estate billionaire, right? They started with very humble beginnings. And then they took these steps, and then in 20 years, not overnight, in 20 years, they became billionaires. If
you don't have a financial roadmap, you're going to get lost. And we see that all the time, right? People will get money or get success or have a certain line of income, and it could be gone because there is no roadmap and there is no discipline. And so, like you said, once we can see something, we can now aspire to be something.
Discipline
right?
is everything.
Yeah, it starts there.
I have some friends who they be shopping every single week. Some of them are in this room.
Shout out to the room.
But what I want to know is, because people love to hear personal stories, what were your guys' first jobs that you had?
Yeah, my first job was at this community center. Shout out to the TDYCC.
Were you a lifeguard?
No, I was a counselor, man.
Oh.
It's where I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned, working with kids was something that I was passionate about. Loving sports was something I was passionate about. Being able to work with people was something I was passionate about. So I did a lot of jobs at that community center. I was a counselor, I was a rec specialist, I was a camp coordinator, and then that summer program that we talk about that kind of was the footprints for what Earn Your Leisure would become was through there. So yeah, shout out to the community center, shout out to the town of Greenville.
Yeah, you're running that thing.
Yeah.
What about you, Rashad?
I was a rec specialist actually. At the camp. I never was a counselor. I started at administration.
What's a rec specialist?
It's like the head of sports.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first job I think that I had during the camp.
What I like about that is, it's jobs that a lot of people hold, right? And so many people have their 9-to-5s. But there are a lot of people watching, whether it's TikTok, you name it, financial advice videos, and it's like they always say you got to leave your 9-to-5 to become financially free. Can you work a 9-to-5 and still be able to earn your leisure?
Yeah, for sure. I think that you definitely can still work a 9-to-5, but I think life is about progression. So if you're in a 9-to-5, there's nothing wrong with that, but how can you progress up that corporate chain if that's your goal, right?
So how can you?
Well, I think that once again, education and networking and having a clear vision and asking, right? You have to be a thorn in the side of when a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Right.
And if you become complacent, then you'll stay stagnant. So even if that means leaving one job for another job and becoming uncomfortable and starting in a new environment and getting new corporate friends, right? That's something that sometimes you might have to do. And you can be an entrepreneur at the same time as being an employee. And you can be an investor at the same time as being an employee. So there's nothing to stop you from buying real estate. There's nothing to stop you from investing in stocks while you're still currently working your job. So all of those things, I think you definitely can reach financial freedom while you're employed. It's just you have to have a clear vision.
He's talking about my life story just now.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Exactly what you did.
Yeah, like I was the guy that was working the 9-to-5. I was teaching, 9-to-3. I was working for 13 years as a teacher, trying to figure out, I know this isn't it. I knew this isn't where I was going to end up in life. I knew my purpose was bigger. Started learning about the stock market, started learning about finance, started Earn Your Leisure. And while I was doing the 9-to-5, any minute that I had free, I was working on that. So it was, all right, well, I got to edit episodes. I'm doing that on my lunch break. Oh, I got to shoot ads. I'm doing during my prep time. Oh, after school, which is great. I can go spend time with my kids, then I can really focus on what I really want to do with Earn Your Leisure. I like to say, you can have the 9-to-5 or for education 7-to-3, but it's about what you do from the 5 to 12 that will determine how long you'll have that 9-to-5. And so it was just a matter of time of all right, if I set this financial goal, can I hit it? Can I hit the next one? And after I start hitting all the goals, it's all right, well, here comes the freedom.
You feel free?
I feel pretty free.
So what was the first asset both of you purchased?
Literature.
Oh.
I think the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I bought the whole series. And this was a time when I was in prep school. I was still in high school. And I say that that's an asset that I invested in because that was the first thing to really get me on the path of really understanding wealth. I always encourage everybody. People say, what's the first investment I should make? Your first investment should be in education.
Okay.
It's watching YouTube. It's listening to a podcast, right? It's actually reading an article, reading a book. These are things that I think are underrated, but it all comes down to confidence. And confidence is direct correlation of education. So when you're educated, you're more confident. Then the more confident you are, now you're actually in a position to execute. Once you execute, then you can make money. So it all comes down to education, in my opinion.
Listen, you're preaching to me right now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 1,000%. It's education. I think another investment that gets overlooked is I invested in people, right?
Oh.
So I've always lived by the mindset of I never know who I'm going to be talking to, but I know I can learn something. And so I didn't come from a financial background. So I had to learn it from people. I had to learn it from Rashad. I had to learn it from listening to people on the news, and I had to read it through news articles and publications. And so investing in people, you never know what the outcome can be.
I was not expecting those two answers, but those are like gems that you guys just dropped there. Not to turn it the other side, but what were the dumbest liabilities you ever purchased?
That's a better question. The dumbest one I ever bought, and is at the time it made sense to me, but I bought a car.
Oh my gosh, I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Should I use that to get?
I brought this guy with me who I thought would talk me out of buying the car. He didn't talk me out of it. He's sitting next to you. But I bought him a BMW 520i.
Yo, I bought a BMW too.
You Jamaican? You Jamaican?
Yes.
So you know we gotta have a BMW.
I
Stop.
know.
That's rites of passage.
I wish I could go back and
Yeah. At the time, I remember signing the paper. I was like, "How much is this going to cost a month?" And they were like, "Oh, it's going to be $562."
How old were you then?
I was 25.
Okay,
and I was making $1,200 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so that's $2,400. All right, bet, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I was like a 6-year lease, and I'm like, I gotta pay this every month. And after a while, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm straining just to pay. And at the time, I had just graduated, and I'm paying student loans. It was a financial burden. I got out of it, but you know, when you buy a car, and this is what we always talk about, financing versus leasing. When I got out of it, it was 6 years later, and you know, BMWs, man. They pricey. The cars get older, but the parts stay the same as far as how much they cost. And so paying a lot to fix it, and it was like, all right, by the time it's 2012, I'm like, I can't have this 2006 anymore. Like, I gotta get rid of this car. But I had paid over like $50,000 at the time. So bad decision, but I learned from it.
Yo, you're speaking to my soul. I made that decision too in the early 2010s. And back then, real estate in Toronto was hella cheap. I could use the same amount of money and had an extra property.
Well, going back to the investment question, I lost a lot of money in crypto. Early 2017, I was early. Like, I had Bitcoin, it was like $4,000. Like Ethereum, when it was a couple $100, and I rode that wave all the way up. And I was making so much money because that's when.
How much we talking?
Well, I had turned like 5,000 to like 30,000 in like a couple weeks. Yeah. So at the time, I'm like,
you turned that water into wine.
But then, so then I started getting a little greedy, and then I started going down into like, you know, coins you never heard of before, like, you know what I mean? What they call, can we curse here?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want here.
Yeah, they call them shit coins.
Altcoins.
Yeah. So I started investing a bunch of no-name coins, and they all turned to zero eventually. And then like so it was up, and it came down. When it came down, all of those coins, I lost the money, all of those coins. So that was a learning experience to stay disciplined, not to, you know, get emotional. You know, you see some wins and you just think like, oh, I'm gonna become a millionaire tomorrow. And also I learned never to invest in things that you don't understand or you don't know.
Quick money can be scary money.
Yeah. Quick money don't last too long. You gotta chase it.
You gotta chase. You gotta, like anything in life, you have to work for it, right? Like people who go to the gym, they have to stay disciplined. They gotta work for it, right, to see the results. Ultimately, what is both of your independent financial goals? Like, what ultimately do you want to see your net worth be? Do you have that number in mind?
I mean, for us as a company, I think, you know, you're sitting next to the next $1 billion media company.
You better speak that.
Yeah, I mean,
repeat that.
Yeah. I mean, I say that with all humbleness, but I feel like we have the verticals, we have the reach, we have the impact, and we have the information that can lead to that. And I think the best part of it is that people have watched it from day one. With us, they've watched it from day one, from a dining room table to a world tour, right? From LA to Toronto, Chicago, London, and, you know, in Ghana. They're gonna, like, this is something that they feel like they're part of. I like to coin this time as the financial revolution. Yeah. And we like the pioneers of it because, $1 billion is, and I'm not saying 1 billion. I'm just saying in the billions.
Yeah, we're talking with a plural.
Yeah. We're not just doing one.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, you guys have your big, you know, event happening here in the city. Massive, right? So massive that I'm hearing another date was added.
Yeah, when was it true?
So talk to me, why Toronto? Why was it so important to come up here?
Yeah, I feel like Toronto's, looking at the analytics, it's always been one of the biggest international markets for us. Like, you know, and we went to all of the other ones so far that was big. Like Nigeria was a big international market for us, so we did an event in Lagos, like just a networking event type vibe. And then London was another big market for us, so we did several events out there. We did Royal Albert Hall, which was huge, very prestigious venue in London. So this was like one of the last stops that we, and it was so close too.
Yeah, save the best for last. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
So when it was time to do the Market Mondays World Tour, you know, it was like, okay, what places should we go to? And this just was like, you know, on the top of the list because we was already planning on doing something here. We just didn't know what event it would be. So when we had the idea for the Market Mondays World Tour, it was like, all right, let's make tour Toronto. So we put the tickets on sale, and like you said, it sold out so quick that we didn't fully even anticipate the demand that was there. So we added a second show, and then that sold out very quickly too. So
No more tickets available?
I feel like this is like that.
The audience going to be
This is the Jordan moment. 1, 2, 3.
Well, can we get a third?
I don't know if we're gonna be able to do a third this weekend, but Toronto is definitely on the list of things that we got to come back to.
Special for sure.
All right. I'm gonna just give you a little tip too. I mean, since you guys are in my city, we don't pronounce the second T.
Okay.
Toronto.
There you go.
Toronto.
There you go.
Not Toronto.
Yeah. That shows you're not from me.
Take the T off, y'all.
Toronto.
Somebody edit my T's out of this.
But of course, I mean, listen, I'm so happy to hear that tickets are sold out. Obviously, it's going to be an amazing event. What ultimately do you want people to take away from the event?
If you're coming to the event, I feel like, you know, of course, education is extremely important,
Yeah.
right? Hopefully you can get some education that can change your life. Hopefully you can become inspired. The education, the inspiration, the motivation is also important as well because motivation and education go hand in hand. So many times people are educated, but if you're not motivated to do anything, it's not going to go anywhere. Then there's a lot of people that motivated, like you can go to a motivational speaker and become motivated, but if you don't know the steps to actually implement things, then you're not going far either. So I think you have to have a combination of education and motivation, and then when you can add the inspiration in there, that's really the holy trinity.
I want people, obviously they're going to come to see us, and there's going to be a lot of actionable items that they can take home, but I want them to realize that the rooms that they're in, right? Like a lot of times we think like, oh, we got to meet Troy, we got to meet Rashad, we got to meet Ian in 19 Keys, but you might be sitting right next to your next business partner. Right, you might be sitting next to your mentor or the next person that can finance your company, and so I want people to come with that type of mindset. Where it's like, you never know who you're going to encounter. That's why I said investing in people is such a big thing, because that's the type of room this is. It's always about being in the right place all the time. Sunday and Monday, it will be the right room for just that. So I hope everybody comes with that mindset.
So let's talk about InvestFest because I know you got some big names coming out for that one.
Yeah, InvestFest so the first year it was 4,500 people in Atlanta. Last year was 14,000 people. We had Steve Harvey, we had Tyler Perry, we had Dame Dash, Rick Ross performed, amongst others. So this year, we're gearing up for year 3. So we're looking for 20,000 people this year in Atlanta. And the whole idea behind InvestFest is a festival, like how they have music festivals, but we wanted to make it a business spin to it. So have the same fun elements of a festival, but make it educational. So we haven't announced the roster yet, but
you can spill the tea.
We got a few billionaires.
We like a bit of an exclusive here.
We got a
BG
few,
Show exclusive.
We got a few billionaires.
What's their initials?
Billy with a B.
But we're gonna be announcing that real soon. So get your tickets when they drop, especially everybody in Canada, because I feel like it's. I always say it's important to travel with intention. So it's cool to just go on a vacation, but I don't know if anybody's ever been to Atlanta. Atlanta is like the mecca of black business when it comes to America. It's a very inspiring place when you can go and you can see most of the businesses are owned by black people. Wow. Most of the restaurants, everything is black. The mayor is black. All of the government is black. You go to the airport, you just see black people. So it's very hard to see anything like that in North America at all.
And people can go to the Earn Your Leisure IG page to get more information?
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. And then investfest.com too. We'll be releasing information very shortly.
But for like the 13-year-old boy, girl watching this, what piece of advice would you say to them?
I would say to really think outside the box and think bigger. Like whatever you're thinking is not big enough, I can guarantee you. And I feel that a lot of times in our community, we're limited to what we see. So we see athletes, we see entertainers, and that becomes something that's aspirational for us. But I would challenge you to think bigger. And this is why we created the platform to show people just like yourself that have done great things in media, have done great things in real estate, great things in stocks, great things as an entrepreneur. The world is yours. You can do whatever you want, especially now this technology has really leveled the playing field. I would encourage all young people to network with as many people as you can, get as much education as you can, and think as big as possible.
Yeah, I would tell them to chase your purpose. Don't chase passion. Don't chase money. All these things will become a byproduct of you chasing your purpose. And we heard somebody told this to us the other day. They said, well, how do you find your purpose? And he said, it's the crossroads between where your gifts, your talents, and your uniqueness match a human need.
Rashad, Troy, thank you guys so much
I
for
appreciate
stopping by the show. Wishing you guys all the continued success. Can't wait to see those billions.
Remember, we said it here
It's
first.
only right.
Dinner on you guys.
It's only right.
Yeah.
Nah, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's BG, and I want to know, what do you think about what you just watched? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below, but also make sure to check out even more great content like this video and this video over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the Brandon Gones Show, do so right now by clicking this button right here.